Hi and welcome to Orbit. When Apple announced the M1 Ultra Mac Studio, they promised us the pie in the sky, and there sure was a pie, but there were also some clouds, and I was not that convinced that it is better than my old Mac Pro with the Intel processor. But now there is a new version with the M2 Ultra and it is way better. The design is so minimal that even I find it a bit too basic. It's a taller Mac Mini. You would never guess from the exterior that the interior is the newest tech that is available at Apple. At the front, a small LED indicates that the computer is on, and on the top is an Apple logo. At the bottom is the product name in the middle of hundreds of small holes that belong to the cooling system. Air is sucked in here and it comes back out at the back. You can feel that the case is getting warm under load, but thanks to the improved cooling system, the Mac Studio is now much quieter. So quiet in fact that I couldn't notice it even after hours of video editing. That's important though, because the Mac Studio will mostly be placed directly in front of the user on the table. And it should be placed there loosely because you have to rotate it from time to time because there are some useful ports on the back. 4x Thunderbolt 4, 2x USB-A, 10 gigabit Ethernet, HDMI 2.0 and aux. There are a few ports in the front as well, thankfully. Thunderbolt 4 twice and the SD card slot. I love these ports and I use them all the time. I carried this Mac Studio on my bike and that would have been quite complicated with the Mac Pro, and it's such a great benefit to be able to carry this computer easily. This thing weighs only 3.6 kilograms and it's about an eighth of the size of a standard desktop PC, but the performance is anything but small. You can choose between two processors in the Mac Studio. The Apple M2 Max and the M2 Ultra, which consists of two M2 Max that are connected via a bandwidth of 2.5 terabytes per second. The result is a chip with 134 billion transistors, which is 20 billion more than in the predecessor. I own the model with 24 core CPU and 76 core GPU. That's not only more cores than in the M1 Ultra, they are also faster cores. The maximum unified memory is now 192 gigabytes. Unified memory isn't just regular RAM, it's memory that can be used by the CPU and GPU at the same time. Because the data is shared, it doesn't have to be copied twice, saving time and memory. The NVIDIA RTX 4090 has 24 gigabytes of video memory. The M2 Ultra has 192 gigabytes. But graphic memory is one thing, speed is another. And Apple increased the performance by 30% compared to the predecessor, up to 27.2 teraflops. The most powerful graphic card you can have in the Mac Pro, the AMD 6800 Duo, reaches 30.2 teraflops. And you can even install two of them. However, this card alone costs more than the entire Mac Studio. The NVIDIA 4090 Ti even has 100 teraflops, which is 3.5 times more performance than the M2 Ultra. But it also consumes 600 watts and the whole Mac Studio only needs 200 watts. And I know this is not an Apple Silicon Mac Pro review, but if it would be possible to connect an NVIDIA GPU in the new Mac Pro, it could have 200 teraflops of performance, but now it only has 27. But all these numbers aside, what really counts is the day-to-day performance, and I pushed this thing to its limit and beyond. First I tested the CPU. A scene in Blender rendered using only the CPU performed a full 31% faster than the M1 Ultra. In Handbrake, a video conversion program, it was 24% faster. My 28-core Intel Mac Pro was 6% faster in Blender, but 12% slower in Handbrake. So let's just say the Mac Studio is similarly strong or even slightly stronger. This is remarkable because A, the M2 Ultra only has 16 performance cores and the Mac Pro has 28, and B, the Intel processor alone costs more than the entire Mac Studio. And these are only multi-core scenarios. In single-core applications, of which there are a ton, the M2 Ultra trumps on the Mac Pro, hands down, making the viewport in Blender or image editing or even just surfing in the web incredibly direct. The graphics unit has gotten an even bigger upgrade. While it was a bit behind my Mac Pro with two 5700X graphic cards last year, it now is a good bit faster. 240% faster in Blender and also about 24% faster in Geekbench 6 Metal Benchmark compared to the M1 Ultra. So generally speaking, this thing is a bit or way faster than the predecessor, and even in day-to-day use, where I usually see some stutter, there was only very few stutter in this device or no stutter at all. The neural engine has also become 40% faster, which is a specific chip for artificial intelligence. Not all programs benefit from it by a long shot, but you have more and more programs doing so every day. Video editing is a big strength of Apple Silicon because there is an extra media engine built in. Wait, did I say one? I meant two, of course. And they provide smoother playback of H.264, H.265 and ProRes. The performance is comparable to 7 Apple Afterburner cards, like you could buy them with the Mac Pro for a unit price of 2,200 euros each. It is possible to play 22 streams of 8K ProRes video simultaneously. That's 17.5 billion pixels per second. With the M1 Ultra, a program could only use one media engine at a time, but now both are active and the export times because of it cut in half. It's almost scary how fast it is. 2 points of criticism I already had with the M1 Ultra unfortunately still exist. A. For 3D work, the Mac Studio is still hardly useful. Most programs are optimized for NVIDIA, and that's why the RTX 3090 in my test could render a scene in 35 seconds, which the M2 Ultra needed 2 minutes 11. And B, Final Cut crashes 5 times more often than on my Mac Pro. This is due to the ECC memory in the Mac Pro, which runs particularly stable, and the Apple Silicon team apparently has some catching up to do at this point. Funny though, I had the feeling that the Mac Studio ran so insanely fast and smooth that I was able to recoup the time that I lost with the crashes. Conclusion: the Mac Studio is two things. Either a MacBook Pro, but for 1,000 euros cheaper, or the most powerful Mac there is, but it costs 4,800 euros. So it's not an everyman's device, but it's still 3,500 euros cheaper than the new Mac Pro and 10,000 of euros cheaper than the old Mac Pro. And it's quite impressive how all this performance fit in a quiet, compact box that is super energy efficient, and that makes it for me super hard to complain about anything at all because it's so unique. But I do want to complain a little bit. It's not modular at all. That means the way you buy it today, it will stay forever, and that's a problem when we think about AI or modern graphic cards. They just don't work with this thing, and it's kind of sad to see, but generally speaking, this thing is the best computer for creatives out there, and 99% of the people will be super happy with it, and it's probably my new computer as well.